True Sports Network by Betting.net. Betting.net is your best bet for finding an online casino or a sports book that's right for you. Make sure you check them out at Betting.net. I'm your co-host, Mike Goodpaster. Right now, I'd like to welcome in my other two co-hosts. First up, he's an Indianapolis Colts fan, which now, they suck. Look, he's got a Carson Wentz jersey.
No. Can I address that real quick, or you want to introduce Dan?
Show me the back of your jersey real quick.
No. It does say Wentz on it still. It does. However, yesterday, I went to NFL.com and I took your advice, Mike. I ordered my next year's Colts jersey. I did not get number 2 because I'm
That's
sick and tired
not taking my advice because I've told you never wear another man's
on
name
the back.
on the back.
I put my name on the back of the jersey.
All right. That way you don't have to buy a new jersey again unless you just get mad with yourself.
You know what my high school number was?
2.
69.
12. Yeah, I did a lot of that too. 12.
What was his name?
I don't think that stuff was going on in 1974.
I think it probably was, Steve. But that's an inside joke. We're not being homophobes. So.
Anyway, I got a number 12 jersey with my name on it, so I don't have to get a damn new jersey every year the Colts decide to change their frickin' quarterback for another old fart. Now move on.
All right, so Steve's the old fart that has a 1981 national championship ring. We've got a younger fart that always wears his hat backwards. NFL beat writer, freshly back from Vegas in the NFL draft, Dan Kornhauser. How you doing, Dan?
What's up, guys? I am doing well. I'm happy to be home, and I'm ready for more foolery on my
When you were in Vegas, was there anything that has to stay in Vegas?
Yeah, what I was going to say is, while he jumped on me about 69 in high school, I guarantee you that clown didn't know 69 in Vegas.
It's not my luckiest number.
Yeah.
That's all I can say.
All right.
We're going to leave that alone.
Yeah,
All right.
The
NFL schedule release came out. We've got winners. We've got losers. Steve, I know you want to talk about winners because you think your Colts are winners.
I think looking at the game schedules, I think the Colts are the best team with the lowest ranking of a schedule according to the Corps or whatever they use to rank these things. But they're down around the 6th easiest schedule in the NFL. And if you look at the numbers game, the over-under on the Colts right now is 9.5 victories. And that puts them atop the AFC South. So my honest-to-God winner, and a lot of the analysis that was done by NFL.com and by ESPN said the Colts should come out of this the happiest of anybody. Now, like one of our players said today, on paper, that's just hogwash. It's just on paper. You got to go out and play.
Well, because we also don't know who's going to be good, who's not going to be good.
Right.
And the other thing about a schedule is it's according to when you play somebody. I'll tell you this. The Colts are coming off a good offseason. They added a veteran quarterback in Matt Ryan. They have a star corner now in Stephon Gilmore. They have a high upside pass rusher at Yannick Ngakoue.
But their strength of schedule is 26th in the NFL.
Yeah, well, that's because they play in their own division.
Right. Well,
plus, they play the NFC East, and both Dallas and Philadelphia are good teams, but neither team's head and shoulders above the Colts. I don't even know if either one's as good as the Colts. And they get the Chargers and the Chiefs at home, which is a notable advantage, Dan.
Right. Well, let me finish one other thing. And the Colts, which I think is a big thing, I believe it's within the first 7 games of the season, they will have played 5 of their divisional games. The 6th one being the last game of the season where I think they played the Texans again.
Well, real quick, let me play devil's advocate there on that, because this is the other thing, You've added new players to the offense and the defense. Wouldn't it be better to play those division games towards the end of the season when Matt Ryan maybe has a better understanding of the offense?
Okay, Mike, I was prepared for that question, okay? Because I've been doing my homework trying to keep up with Dan. Not you. You just read crap off the internet.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing right now. I'm reading stuff off the internet. Yeah.
But it's while injuries can occur any time in the season.
Are you reading that right now, dipshit?
No, I am not reading it. I will come back to you to live. All right? No, I'm not reading it. I'm saying
You were.
the chances of a severe injury occurring early in the season due to wear and tear on players, or players getting worn down by just getting beat up, your offensive line getting beat up and worn down, is less like. So if they wipe out their division early in the season and get a good record, like a 4-1 in their division, or maybe even a 5-0, and only got to play one more division game, they may be the first team in the NFL to lock themselves into the playoffs. They possibly could be, because they can go lose every other freaking game of the year. If they win those first 5 games, they're good.
So you think if they go 5-12 to win the division?
They'll be in the playoffs.
Huh? At
No,
5-12?
No, they'll win their division, but they won't be in the playoffs.
Damn, what'd you do?
Well, they might be.
I thought you went to Indiana, not Illinois,
if they
Steve.
win their
Damn.
division, don't they automatically get in the playoffs?
But you can't win your division unless you have the best record overall in your division.
Well, okay. I just assume get those games out of the way.
Well, I can tell you this. I think
got
this.
that monster taken care of.
I will give you this.
Just take care of the Rams, the Chargers,
Okay.
and NFC East, the Eagles, the Cowboys. We got to go to Dallas anyway. I don't want to turn this into a Colts show, but
it's fine because if you think they're
the best luck in the draw in the draft, I would say the Colts are the best team out there today. The best analysis of everybody, every other, even Mel Kiper thinks that
he's an
Colts,
idiot.
I know, aren't we all? But
yeah,
it looks like they're right now. They sit as the best team with the worst record, or the 6th easiest schedule in the NFL. I'm gonna shut up and let you guys talk.
Okay, tell me
Thank
this.
you for giving me the forum.
What's Tennessee's schedule?
It's right above ours.
Okay,
theirs is one above ours.
That's what I'm saying. There's
26th.
really no difference there, Steve.
But
if you're in the same
quarterback
division,
issues with Tannehill. We don't have any quarterback issues.
What is the quarterback issue? Tannehill took his team to what? 13-4 last year, the number 1 seed, 12-5, whatever it was, the number 1 seed. Matt Ryan hasn't played a playoff game in a handful of years, and he's going to a new team. How can Tennessee have bigger issues?
When's the last time Tannehill took his team to the Super Bowl?
He never did.
Well, when's the last time Ryan did?
He did once.
Yeah, okay. Well, that's still one out. Now, if we were flipping this around,
he's played an extra.
Bengals we were talking about.
He's played an extra 10 years.
They've been to the Super Bowl. The
No, I
Bengals
wouldn't.
have been to the Super Bowl.
I really wouldn't.
Yeah, you would.
No, I wouldn't.
Go ahead.
You haven't heard me say that. Well, I am. I'm trying to make a point here. The point is to say that Tennessee has bigger quarterback issues is crazy because, number one, Tennessee didn't go looking for a quarterback. They drafted one in the 3rd round. The Colts were the team that were desperately scrounging for a quarterback, and they came up with an old, can't-move 37-year-old Matt Ryan who really has not played like Matt Ryan for probably 3 years.
Oh, okay. And I think I was talking to you 2 weeks ago, and you thought Matt Ryan was a great get for the Colts.
I didn't say great. I thought it was a good get because it didn't cost them much.
And he was the best plug in the hole in the dam they could find.
He wasn't the best plug in the hole, but he was the 2nd best plug in the hole.
Well, let's face it, not a lot of people want to come to Indianapolis.
Well, no, they don't because it sucks in Indianapolis.
It's a small country town. Yes, it is.
All right, Dan, any takeaways on the Colts since they're going to go ahead and have the division wrapped up by September 15th?
Yeah, I mean, I actually had the Colts on my second on my list for teams I wanted to talk about for the easiest schedules. And, I mean, they have an ugly gauntlet from the last week in September until the first week in November. That stretch, that like 7-game stretch is tough. You face the Chiefs, the Titans twice, the Broncos on Thursday Night Football at Denver. You play the Patriots on November 6th at New England.
They go to Dallas.
Yep. Later on in the season, they're at Dallas December 4th, the week before their bye. So they have a really tough stretch in October, late, like I said, week 3, late September, until the first week of November. That's a really tough stretch. That will decide their season, because other than that, like Steve was saying, their schedule is pretty doable. Yes, it's because half their division is absolutely awful in the Texans and the Jaguars last season. They're not 2 of the better teams, so that helps. And it does also help playing the NFC East with the Giants and the Commanders and so on and so forth. So that helps too. Make it look a lot easier. But that's a very tough stretch. That'll be very telling for them and their whole season in that stretch.
Yeah,
All
and
right.
Mike, I make one comment. The team that got off easier than the Colts, the freaking Dallas Cowboys, got the easiest schedule, tied with the Commanders in the league.
Well, that's because they're in the NFC East. They're playing NFC East teams, and it has to do with what division you're playing. It's one of the few things I don't think the NFL.
They've got to go to Green Bay, so they must be playing the NFC Central.
Yeah, which is
Pretty
not very good.
wiped out too, except for Green Bay. Yeah.
And in Green Bay, we don't know receiver-wise unless the rookies
what they're
come
gonna be
through.
doing.
They may have issues there. Dan, give me a winner. Give me your number one winner.
Ooh, that's tough. That's tough. I wrote the entire NFC East, and like the Cowboys, the Giants, the Eagles primarily. I mean, yes, their schedules seem light on the numbers because they're playing each other, and the Giants were butt, Washington was butt, Philly, even though they made the playoffs, had no business getting there and no business being there. Shocked would be the word if you spoke to non-Eagles fans. But of all those teams, honestly, I'd probably go with the Giants the most because, yes, they were the worst team in this division. Yes, they were one of the worst teams in the NFL. And yes, playing the NFC East helps those numbers look good. But the Giants got better this offseason. Their fans, at least from what I'm hearing on the radio here in New York and whatnot, everybody's hoping that Barkley's healthy. Fingers crossed. They're expecting to not get a snake-bitten injury-wise as they were last year. Kenny Golladay to be healthy. Kadarius Toney, after trade conversations, to take that step forward in his second season. So there's a lot of optimism on the team, particularly the fact that they have a GM coach. And there's a lot of hope on that. And wise, like I said, for the Colts playing the East, the Giants do play AFC South, so having the Jaguars on there is nice. The Titans, week 1, it's at Tennessee. Tennessee likes to lose to teams that they should beat, and it's early enough in the season where maybe they can get had week 1. So if the Giants can beat Tennessee, they can win Carolina at home week 2. They have 3 games at home: Panthers, Cowboys, and Bears going into. So I mean, could they be 3-1 after the first month? If they could, I mean, that would be a huge turnaround for what they've been in the last few seasons.
Yeah,
and
they start
it
off.
would be a nice boost for them, and their bye week at week 9, right in the middle, perfect.
It sets up for them at Tennessee, Carolina at home, Dallas at home, Chicago at home. I think you're probably looking at 2-2. I think the difference is they've got a coach. They still don't have a quarterback, and letting Bradbury go is mind-numbing to me.
Letting who go?
James Bradbury.
Yeah, they did it because they needed the cap space to sign their draft class. That's pretty much the main reason. Nobody was going to trade for him, but yeah, I think that's going to be a huge loss for them. Him, Logan Ryan's not there anymore. Those are 2 huge pieces to their secondary, and part of the reason why their defense was so good was these kinds of guys back there. But yeah, that is a threatening look. Also, Jaguars, Seahawks, bye week, Texans, Lions. I mean, if you're a team going into your bye, can you pick of 2 better teams to play than Jacksonville and Seattle?
Yeah, but you know what? Jacksonville and Seattle are excited because they get to play the Giants.
Yeah, probably. And then you come back, you got the Texans and Lions at home. I mean, it's nice. That's a nice little stretch in the middle of the season to chill out for.
Well, I think the Cowboys are winners, and the only time they're winners are on the schedule release. But I think the bad thing here is if you're Mike McCarthy. Because if you're Mike McCarthy, this schedule's easy. You have Dak Prescott, Ezekiel Elliott. You got all the weapons you need. The defense should be a little bit better this year. I mean, their final 5 games are against the AFC South or a divisional opponent. I think this is set up for Dallas to win this division. I think they will win the division because I think they're the only team with actually a legitimate starting quarterback, if you know what I mean.
I agree 100%. That whole division quarterback-wise is just gross. Hopefully Jalen Hurts looks a little better this year than he did last year.
And I'll tell you, another winner, which I don't think will be when they play their games, are the Pittsburgh Steelers. Because I don't think a lot of people realize Mike Tomlin's team doesn't leave the Eastern time zone during the entire season, which is a huge advantage. The only problem with the Pittsburgh Steelers is they're at most a 5-win football team.
I was gonna say, I like how you mentioned that that in your mind they might be a bit of a winner on the schedule. I actually wrote them down as a loser. I don't care about that stretch at all.
The stretch is the entire season. The stretch is the entire season, though. You're playing in the Eastern time zone. That is a huge advantage.
I guess. I mean, it's a lot better than I think Seattle. I think Seattle has the most travel across the country than any team. Another winner, if you want to go with that, is San Francisco. San Francisco's got like a 10-week stretch where they're staying on the West Coast pretty much.
And why don't we just say the entire NFC East is a schedule winner just because they get to play each other?
Yeah, I said that. Yeah, I mean, you're not wrong.
Much like the AFC South.
Well, the AFC South, though, Tennessee was a Super Bowl contender last year. There's no Super Bowl contenders in the divisions we're talking about right now.
Yeah, you're right. Good point.
You know, before we move on to the losers or whatever, or the hardest schedules, one thing I do want to point out that I found interesting was, like, every team that you expect to contend has a crazy stretch, an absolute gauntlet, and like more than half of like the top 10 teams that you could expect to be competing for a playoff spot, a lot of those teams have a rough second half, and they're like all playing each other. Cincinnati's got a rough second half of the season.
Yeah, but the thing about this on Cincinnati is this: 4 of their last 6 games are at home. And they get to finish it, but they get to finish with Baltimore at home. They finish with Buffalo at home right before that. So it's just like when we were talking about the Colts, when they're playing a team like the Chiefs, to get them at home is a huge advantage over having to go to them and play. The only thing I would say is the Bengals were a better road team than home team last year. And I do like the first game against Pittsburgh.
And I think I read something where the Bengals were like 7-3 or something like that against
playoff teams.
Against playoff teams, and the 3 teams they beat twice was the Ravens, I want to say, and the other one
it would have been the Chiefs, the Raiders, and who was the third one? I know they beat the Chiefs and Raiders each twice, and there was somebody else in there that was a playoff team, and of course you beat Tennessee in there. I can't even remember. I only remember the playoff games.
But, yeah, the point is that they played very well against playoff teams.
Yeah, and let's face it, if you are a team that is good enough to go to the Super Bowl, it shouldn't matter what your schedule is.
I mean, yes, that's a thing, because you just want to make the dance and make the dance healthy. So I guess really, if you're expected to make the playoffs, I guess the schedule does matter. It is what it is. But in terms of betting, the betting world and stuff like that, I was been reading up on it. There's a lot of evidence to point that the schedule does matter.
The schedule matters for teams that are like the Colts, and that's not a shot at the Colts, but if you give the Colts the Chiefs schedule, the Colts are in trouble. But if you give the Colts a nice schedule the way they have it, you build confidence early, which is why I think the Colts are the big winner here. You get a chance to build confidence, win games early, get Matt Ryan's feet wet, and then maybe you can compete with teams like the Chiefs and the Bengals by the time you get to the end of the season. But I think really, if you are the Chiefs, I mean, strength of schedule did not affect them the last 4 years. It didn't affect the Patriots for 20 years. If you're really that damn good, it's not going to matter. But I think if you are a team that is kind of a middle-of-the-road team, or even a team that you expect to only win 5 or 6 games this year, an easier schedule can make a difference. And let's look at it like this. Last year, I don't think people were saying the Bengals have this real tough schedule. But they ended up playing almost half their games against playoff teams before they got to the end. Because you had teams like the Raiders, people didn't expect to make the playoffs. That's why I think when people look at the schedule right now, I think it means absolutely nothing. This is just another NFL money grab where they can run a TV show for an hour and everybody talks about them constantly. Because I don't know, the Bengals might play the Bucs and Tom Brady might be out. All of a sudden, that's not so tough a game anymore. Or you could be, I mean, we hear about trap games. You know, the Bengals could play the Browns when the Ravens are right after that. They're looking ahead into this game. because I don't buy the Browns stuff either, because we've been hearing this about the Browns for 5 years. This is their year. It's never their year because they're the Cleveland freaking Browns. It hasn't been their year since 1964. It just hasn't. I mean, 1964 is the last time it was the Cleveland Browns' year. But I can tell you this. I do believe this. My craziest pick of the year is this. I think the Detroit Lions win 8 or 9 games this year.
Gross. Well, I say gross, but they do have one of the lighter schedules overall, despite the fact that they are not playing, the only team not playing any primetime games, which is very disappointing. But
it's to be expected.
Right. Let them use that for extra motivation.
They get Thanksgiving, dude. Chill out. That's a primetime game. I can tell you this, Riz. If it's 12:30 on Thanksgiving, I don't care if there's midgets playing puppies. I'm going to watch it because there's nothing else to watch on Thanksgiving.
Same with Christmas Day. There are 3 games on Christmas Day.
Oh, let's face it. If it's puppies, I'm just going to watch it.
Yeah. Well, I generally split on the Super Bowl Sunday. I split between the Puppy Bowl and Super Bowl.
Well,
I definitely have the flip channel back to the Puppy Bowl.
You could always DVR the puppies.
Yeah, I do that too, so I can see the whole show.
All right, so
let's go. DVR the Super Bowl too.
You could, but some asshole like Dan will start the 3-way text about the game. And
start telling you he's won.
Yeah. All right, let's go losers. Dan, we'll let you start off with losers since you're a Lions fan.
Well, I've got 3 teams written down. I'm gonna go with one of the obvious ones. I'm gonna go with Kansas City, and they're the team that I have at the top of my list. And I mean, for good reason, man. You're looking at their schedule early on in the season is a gauntlet. They play a bunch of playoff teams to open up the year. They got to go through the AFC West. Their whole division is just ridiculous. So early on, it's at the Cardinals versus the Chargers, at the Colts, at the Bucks. Ugly. You're playing the Bills in week 6. You're at San Francisco in week 7. That's really, really tough. And the second half of the season ain't any easier because after your bye, you got the Titans, you got the Chargers at LA in week 11. You play the Rams in week 12. You're at Cincinnati in week 13. You got the Broncos in week 14. I mean, I don't know how they're going to navigate this. Like you said, I guess the schedule won't matter if they're that good, and we'll see just how good Mahomes.
Yeah, I think this though. I think with what they lost, Dan,
tough.
They're not that good now, and they're going to be relying on Trent McDuffie, George Karlaftis or whatever his name is, and Sky Moore an awful lot. And there's no Tyreek Hill there anymore. I think the defense might be a little bit better. I think this team's in trouble, and if we go on with that. And I know Risley feels kind of the same way because we had this discussion. I think maybe me and you talked about it yesterday. I'm not that convinced that the Denver Broncos are going to be that great. Jerry Jeudy may not be playing now. We haven't seen Russell Wilson look like Russell Wilson in 2 or 3 years, so I don't think there's any guarantee. Plus, he was hurt for a significant chunk over the last year or two. I don't know that this division is that great. I think the Chargers could possibly run away with it. I think the best division is the AFC North if Deshaun Watson doesn't get suspended.
Oh yeah, if he's playing, Cleveland should be looked at as the Super Bowl contender you thought they were last year. As long as this guy comes back and plays like a top 5 NFL quarterback, which is what he was when he last played a full season. So if he could play to that level again, Cleveland should be in the Super Bowl conversation. They were a quarterback away last year.
They weren't a quarterback away last year. They were offensive line injuries away. Baker Mayfield's good enough to get it done. I know people will think I'm nuts, but I did watch him go to Pittsburgh, win a playoff game. Should have won in Kansas City. Wasn't his fault. His coach shut it down and decided to run after Mahomes got hurt. So hopefully they keep Baker Mayfield just in case something happens to Deshaun Watson. Steve, give me a loser.
Loser I picked out of this whole mess was I picked the Cardinals, Arizona. I went through their roster, and I mean
that's not just because of schedule either, though, Steve.
Yeah, I know. Well, I mean, let's face it, Kyler Murray is either not panning out or not living up. I mean, those are both really the same things. The team's been kind of on a downward trend to the last 2 or 3 years.
Hey, hold on now. Former Bengals starting offensive lineman, Super Bowl 23, sounds Browns suck. Sorry. You don't have to be sorry, Bruce, because I agree. That's why I went through the whole thing that I'll never buy they're going to do anything, because they haven't since the 60s. Go ahead, Steve. Thanks, Bruce.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the schedule for the Cardinals, they've got to open up with the Chiefs. They play them at home, but then they've got to immediately turn around and go to they play. Their two divisions are the AFC West and the NFC West, obviously, which is their division. So they're facing some pretty tough competition. They go right to the Raiders, and then they've got to host the Rams. They get a break with the Panthers, and then they get the Eagles coming in, who, by all accounts, is supposed to be one of the better teams with the best draft in the NFL, according to a lot of prognosticators. Seahawks, we don't know about them. Saints, we don't know. But then Vikings, we don't know. But then, they got to play the Rams again, 49ers, Chargers, Patriots, although they play the Patriots at home. They've got to go to Denver and play the Broncos. And then they've got to close out with the 49ers again. So, pretty tough schedule for a team that's really is playoff potential, but probably not a lot above that.
How about this, Dan? I think the Cardinals will have a new quarterback and a new head coach this time next year, because I think Kyler Murray's pricing himself out of Arizona. He's not very good. If you watched him in the playoffs, he looked like a high school quarterback that was a freshman in his first game of varsity action, and the game looked really fast against the Rams. He panicked. He played like crap. I don't think Kingsbury's a very good coach. If you look at his career record, second half of seasons, even at Texas Tech, I think he's 16-51 in the second half of seasons. DeAndre Hopkins has been suspended for 6 games already. I think you can stick a fork in the Cardinals right now.
I mean, that's I'm not going to disagree with anything you said pretty much there. The only thing I'll say is I don't think Kyler Murray is terrible.
Yeah, he is. He sucks.
He definitely played poorly in the second half of the season.
He plays poorly in the second half of every season.
And that could be, like you said, connected to the coaching problem. With a better coach, Kyler Murray is supremely talented.
How about this, Dan?
He can sling it, and he fits the modern mold of.
Dan, what's the modern mold of a quarterback?
Teams prefer guys who are mobile as opposed to the statuesque guys of the past.
Name me all the guys that have won Super Bowls in the last decade that are mobile.
Yeah, I agree with you, Mike.
Tom Brady? No.
Mahomes.
Matt Stafford? No. Yeah, Mahomes is 1-1. And Mahomes in those 4 years, Russell Wilson is not a running quarterback.
He's mobile.
Well, all of them are mobile except for Tom Brady. Joe Burrow's mobile.
Rodgers hasn't won in a while, but Rodgers moves around in the pocket and around the pocket and makes plays outside the pocket very often.
He doesn't
and he's
run.
one of the top quarterbacks in the league.
But they're not runners. Kyler Murray is a runner. He runs for his life because he's not very good. We've had this discussion for more than a year now. You called me sick, gross, and stupid last year at this time. And right now, you know what's gross, other than your face, is the fact that I was proven right again, but you still... It's just like what I told you. Joe Burrow is better than Patrick Mahomes. You said that was stupid. Then they played twice in the span of a month, and Joe Burrow kicked his ass both times. He outplayed him in both games, while Patrick Mahomes threw interceptions to lose the games. A quarterback that wins... Gunslingers are a bad thing to have. Gunslingers don't win many Super Bowls. Runners don't win Super Bowls. You look, Matt Stafford last year won the Super Bowl. He beat Joe Burrow, not a runner. But they are both capable of gaining some yards. They're not immobile. But, dude, you need a quarterback to be able to throw the ball to win games in the NFL. The Baltimore Ravens have found that. At the Baltimore Ravens, they're completely loaded as a team. But for some reason, they keep the same offensive coordinator, Greg Roman, who wants to run the freaking ball, with Lamar Jackson, who I watched in Louisville stand in the pocket and throw the ball. They won't get him wide receivers. They had a great draft this year, but the problem is this. To be able to beat teams like the Bengals and the Chargers, even if your defense is really good, you're probably going to have to score in the mid-20s. Yep. And they can't do it. And Lamar Jackson, if he gets hurt again, this is going to be something that really could be the end of his career because he has a coach that doesn't believe he's a quarterback. I believe Lamar Jackson with good wide receivers would be a good NFL quarterback. I believe Jalen Hurts sucks, all right? But it is what it is. I think Kyler Murray sucks. I would take Lamar Jackson on my team, and I would get him a couple wide receivers, and I'd turn his ass loose and let him throw the ball. I don't think he's going to be a top 5 quarterback in the NFL. Let's face it, he won the NFL MVP award because he ran all over people. But when he went to the playoffs, he goes to Buffalo, and he gets smacked right away by Josh Allen. Yeah. So, I mean, the 2 best quarterbacks in the NFL are Joe Burrow and Josh Allen. It's in that order because they are consistent, and they both can run if they have to. Josh Allen is a mobile quarterback. If you put Josh Allen in Baltimore, they would win more than Lamar Jackson does because Josh Allen is a better running quarterback than Lamar Jackson.
He's a better quarterback, period.
Well, no kid.
And Josh Allen's bigger than most linebackers in the NFL.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. What is he, 6'5" and about 260?
Yeah. And what did the Buffalo Bills do when he was struggling? Number 1, they got him a different private coach to get him Jordan Palmer. But number 2, they got him freaking Stephon Diggs. Mm-hmm. Baltimore gets Marquise Hollywood Brown. And then they trade him away because he sucks. Who do they get to replace him with? They got some guys in the draft. That's about it. So, I mean, they are doing a complete disservice to Lamar Jackson.
And before we move on, I'm gonna be on this bandwagon all off season. I was on it last year, but I was a year early.
Which bandwagon is that? Is that Steve's nuts?
That's the second hitch. But no, the first hitch on this bandwagon is the Denver Broncos. All right. I said last year they would be useful if they had a quarterback. They didn't. Now they do. I know you said Russell Wilson hasn't been quite right, but in 2020 he threw 40 touchdowns.
I think Russell Wilson is one of the 5 best quarterbacks in the NFL. I'm telling you this: the Denver Broncos may lose Jerry Jeudy. They've got some guys, but I mean, are you still telling me is Denver's roster as good as Cincinnati or Buffalo? Not even close.
Probably not. No.
Okay, so my issue is this. I could buy them making the playoffs. I can't buy them being a bigger threat than that. Unless I see Russell Wilson look like the Russell Wilson of 4 or 5 years ago. I do think that's possible.
Russell Wilson of 2020 or 2020 and 2019, he's been right. Everybody just has short-term memory.
Dude, it was 3 years ago. And 3 years ago, I mean, 2 years ago, I called him the best quarterback in the NFL, and you told me I was stupid.
In 2020? Nah, I wasn't here for 2020.
Well, 2021, I said it. You said I was stupid. Steve, you remember that, don't you?
Of Russell Wilson?
Yeah.
Nah.
See? Steve just said you remembered it.
Nah, I'm going to have to go back. I don't remember bad-mouthing Russell Wilson. I like Russ.
No, you gave me crap when I said he was the best quarterback. He's not now because Joe Burrow's there.
Well, I'm not sure about Russell Wilson, but I can damn well tell you Russell Wilson's wife, Sierra, is one of the 5 best-looking quarterback wives in the NFL.
No,
she was 5 years ago too. She was 5 years ago. Oh,
I don't know what somebody's wife looking good has to do with any damn thing football wise.
Yo, Aiden Hutchinson.
What is this, 7th grade, Steve?
Mike, I'm not even going to touch that one, okay? Because I like Wendy. All right.
What's that mean?
I'm not even going to touch that one.
Why are you saying my wife's ugly?
No, you just said it.
How did I say that?
Rude.
Yeah.
When did we bring up my wife?
You said.
I'm saying, why does it matter what a quarterback's wife looks like?
It matters.
If it matters, then Patrick Mahomes shouldn't even be allowed in the NFL because
wives are an integral part of the league now.
They're really not. They're really not. I mean, they're not, Steve. I mean, come on. If you got to reach, and the best thing you say about Russell Wilson,
let me tell you, same thing in baseball. Yesterday was Max Muncy bobble night in the Dodgers game to the Phillies. You know who threw out the first pitch?
Max Muncy's wife.
There you go. Wives are an integral part of sports now.
I'm not real sure I know who Max Muncy is, but all
Kristen
right.
Thompson has Khloe Kardashian, has her baby, and then other guys' girls' babies, and then comes back and goes. You got to watch Keeping Up with the Kardashians.
Talking about Khloe Kardashian is the ugly one.
No, she's the tall one.
The ugly one that had all the work done, so she
that's
wouldn't
debatable across the board. So.
Joe says that he's offended by you talking about someone's wife. Joe, I'm offended just because you're a fat ass. All right, what do you got there,
Can we block Joe for this show, or I'm getting off? You either block that prick or I'm getting off. I don't want anything to do with him right now. I'm very pissed at him.
Dan, go ahead.
I was gonna say, so Mike, we talked about the Colts in depth.
Hey, wait a second. You know what I was just thinking? If I wanted to bet on the NBA playoff games tonight, wouldn't you want to find the best place to bet on them, Dan?
Yeah.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
I would.
All right. So
Well,
if you're
let's
going to
go
do
with
that,
Mike.
Steve, wouldn't you go to betting.net because they offer expert user reviews for every online sportsbook and casino in your state?
Right away.
All right. You got a short thumb for being 6'8", Steve.
Oh, I know. Because I don't have it up my ass all the time like some other people I know.
Ooh, taking shots at Dan.
No, Joe.
I know,
Joe.
but Dan's here, so it's
Not
more
taking
fun.
shots at Dan. Not
Okay.
taking shots at anybody on this panel.
He knows. All right, so let's look at the best games
Wait,
for the
hold
coming
on.
year. What?
No. Mike, I
got
wanted to
another
know
one?
because we talked about the Colts in depth. I talked a little bit about the Lions just for a minute, but
Talk
I
about
wanted
the
to hear
Lions.
I wanted to hear your thoughts on the Bengals schedule because they've got a pretty rough go at it as well. And I'm looking after the bye week in week 10, and that is a stretch, sir. How do you feel about this?
What's a stretch?
I mean, after their week 10 bye, it's at Pittsburgh, at home
Easy
against
game.
Tennessee, the Chiefs,
Easy game. Easy
at
game.
home against the Browns.
Easy
We'll see
game.
if Watson's playing. At Tampa, at New
Tough
England,
game.
ahead
Easy game.
home against Buffalo, and then you finish up home against the Ravens.
So you gave me 2 or 3 tough games there, Mo. So come on, we owned the Ravens. We beat their ass by a combined like 90 points in 2 games last year, and Burrow threw for almost 1,000 yards against them. And don't give me the injury crap because they were like 6-2 and were favored to beat us in Baltimore. Joe Burrow goes in there and throws for almost 500 yards when they were not that beat up. Now the second time around, they were depleted, but tough shit. You got to play the game with who you got. Quit being a baby. I mean, it's almost like you're Joe Spillman or something, whine and cry about every damn thing, and not let my Steve Risley talk on a show.
Oh, crap.
Yeah.
Sorry. But yeah,
So
that was-
I
that was
think
my
this.
thoughts.
I think this. The Bengals last year, or right now, are talking about being a Super Bowl team. If you're a Super Bowl team, doesn't matter what you play. I don't care who they play. And I mean, really, Pittsburgh, those are 2 easy wins. We owned their ass last year. We'll do it again this year. Baltimore is not going to have enough offense. I think the Bengals, with the schedule, are anywhere from 10-7 to 12-5. They've got Joe Burrow. As long as they make the playoffs, I'll be happy because if they make the playoffs, there's a decent chance they're going to do a little bit of damage. And when you look at these teams, I keep hearing all these pundits, say that the Bengals can't make the playoffs again. I mean, we just saw them go to the Super Bowl with one of the worst offensive lines in history. All right, one of the worst offensive lines in history, and they lost that Super Bowl by 3 points. They picked up La'el Collins, Alex Cappa, Ted Karras. That's 3/5 of the offensive line was just changed out right there. So why is all of a sudden are they not that good? Because everything everybody bitched about as being their weakness, they took care of. In the draft, you got Dax Hill, who I think is going to be an absolute stud there. And, I mean, the only issue is the same issue everybody else has. When you go to the player, to get to the Super Bowl, win the Super Bowl, the number one thing is luck. That luck is injuries. All right? If they don't sustain a lot of injuries, they'll be fine. If they sustain injuries, they're still going to be a good football team. But I'm not somebody who's going to sit here and say they're going to be the greatest team in the NFL next year. I don't know that because I have questions about the team also. And those questions come from this. We've seen the New England Patriots, the first time they won the Super Bowl with Tom Brady, they followed it up the next year. They went 9-7. Because it's really hard to keep that intensity, to not get happy with yourself, to not become complacent. I think we've watched Patrick Mahomes, since he won the Super Bowl, level off. We haven't seen him get better. So, Joe Burrow, he hadn't won the Super Bowl yet. Maybe that helps. But guys have a tendency to get complacent when they have success. It's human nature. So, will the human nature kick their ass this year? Because I think that's the only way they do fail, is if they basically are complacent and happy with what they did. And people could say, well, they lost the Super Bowl, so wouldn't that be impetus to come back and win it? How many teams lose the Super Bowl and the next year come back and win it?
Not many, if any.
I mean, I'm pretty sure there's... I know, like, the Miami Dolphins lost Super Bowl 6, came back and won Super Bowl 7. But there's not a lot of instances like that. And let's face it, that Miami Dolphins team was a complete football team. It was one of probably the 5 greatest teams that ever lived. I mean, shit, they went undefeated. It's hard to argue with that. So, Don Shula, I think, is probably a top 15 coach in NFL history. I don't buy the top 5 stuff with him or even top 10. But we don't know what Zach Taylor is because let's not forget, before the 10-7 last year, he was 6-25-1. Now, he did a good job with them. I still question a lot of decisions that were made in the Super Bowl and even the playoffs. I don't know why Samaje Perine is in the game when you've got Joe Mixon. But overall, the Bengals have as good a shot as anybody. This is just going to come down to how many injuries you get. In a lot of cases, you got to get lucky.
Well, Mike, I think, and God bless all the 3 or 4 teams we all think are capable of getting to the Super Bowl through the AFC pathway. But the road to the Super Bowl for the AFC is wrought with landmines in it. There are a lot of great teams. I mean, you've got the big 3 right now: the Chiefs, the Bills, and the Bengals. Then you've got peripheral teams like the Chargers, who are up and comers. There are other dangerous teams out there. The
Denver,
Titans,
Tennessee.
Denver, Tennessee remains dead. If the
Cleveland,
Colts do
if
anything,
Watson
the Colts could get into that hunt. Not likely, but they could. I mean, the NFC pathway is much simpler than the AFC pathway to get to the Super Bowl. And sadly, we may not see the best team in the AFC get to the Super Bowl simply because of a great season and one not so great game, or something, an injury, an ill-timed injury, or something like that. That's what's going to be unfortunate about these super teams in the AFC, which is where they are.
Well, I think the super teams are probably the Bengals, Bills, maybe the Chiefs. The rest of them, we don't really know.
Right.
I mean, everybody talks
know.
about the Raiders. Right. They were a playoff team. I like Derek Carr. But did they add much more than Devontae Adams?
Chandler Jones.
Yeah, he's an old guy. I mean, he's going to be a situational pass rusher, correct? I mean, it's not like they upgraded the defense a lot. They're a good football team. I think they're a playoff contender. I don't know that they're a Super Bowl contender.
I know I'm a West Coaster, and I get it, but I watched the schedule show and the peripheral shows that came around it, and there was a lot of buzz about the Chargers. Now, I don't think the Chargers are in the category of the big 3 yet, but there's a lot of talk from a lot of people about the Chargers being a team that could elevate into that big 3 sometime by the end of the season. Get in the mix. I know, Mike. You got
no. I'm not going to rip them. What I'm going to say is this: last year they played the Raiders to go to the playoffs.
Right. That was last year.
They lost because the defense can't stop the run. And I mean, what did they add defensively? I know they added Khalil Mack, right?
J.C. Jackson.
Khalil Mack. J.C. Jackson's not going to help stopping the run. Khalil Mack hasn't been Khalil Mack in 3 years. So once again, there's still a lot of question marks here.
Right. But you of all people should be discounting last year because you've got a Super Bowl champion team in your hand, and they lost last year, and they're going to overcome the mistakes that they made.
No, we don't know that.
I think the Bengals will win a Super Bowl within the next 2 or 3 years.
Well, I can tell you this. As a Bengals fan,
are not going to walk away from Joe Burrow without 1 or 2 Super Bowl trophies in Riverfront Stadium or wherever the hell they play at, Great American Park or wherever. I don't know where the Bengals even play anymore. But so don't be talking that much. Don't give credit too much to last year. That was last year.
I'm not giving credit to last year.
Yeah.
What I'm giving is this: the only thing you can base off of right now is last year. And with Khalil Mack, it's more than 1 year where he hasn't been the same. Same thing with Russell Wilson. It's been since 2020. I mean, most of these guys can play forever. I'm sure Russell Wilson I expect Russell Wilson to be fine. My only question is the rest of the Denver team. I think defensively they're pretty good. They did lose some players, though, Dan. And they do have a new coach that's never been a head coach. There's still that's all I'm saying. There's questions everywhere. With the Bengals, my question, and I mean, it probably pissed most Bengal fans off, I still question Zach Taylor. I mean, that's it.
They've still got a tough schedule, too. Denver still's got to play a tough schedule.
Well, this is the thing. In the NFL, you're always playing NFL teams. We look
Right.
last year. The
Any team.
Rams, the Jets beat both teams that were in the Super Bowl last year.
Right.
Correct? Dan?
Yes.
Wasn't that right?
They
Yeah.
beat Tennessee.
So, I
It
mean,
did work.
Yeah, Jacksonville is the reason Indianapolis didn't make the playoffs. They blew them out in Jacksonville. That never should happen. The problem is this: it's the NFL. It really
Right.
is any given Sunday. Hell, the Bengals lost to the Jets and the Bears last year. And I mean, the team that really, to me, is the biggest loser in all this, I know we got best games up, the biggest loser in all this is the New England Patriots. The New England Patriots may get the number one pick. Bill Belichick may get his stud quarterback again, because this team last year, and I think I had this conversation with Steve like a week ago, I think the worst thing that could happen to them last year, Dan, was making the playoffs, because
Yeah.
it dropped their draft pick so that it was in the mid-20s damn near. And I mean, what did you get out of it? You knew going in there was no way in hell they were beating the Buffalo Bills. I mean, it doesn't matter who coaches that team. Bill Belichick could be the greatest coach ever. The Buffalo Bills just had a lot more talent. And I think people that say this has proven Bill Belichick is not that good are crazy. When Bill Belichick had the players, he won Super Bowls. Nobody wins Super Bowls if they don't have an extremely talented team.
And you know what? I have New England as the number 2 team on my list for losers behind Kansas City, for all the reasons you just said. And it's funny that you mentioned that they maybe made the playoffs against making the playoffs as a bad thing for this direction of this franchise, because it did kind of accelerate things a bit. And I connect that to similar to what happened to the Knicks last season. The Knicks made the playoffs. They had no business being hosting a playoff series. And I know this is a football show, but it just, as soon as you started talking about it, is what popped in my mind. And what happened? The Knicks made the playoffs. They got slapped around by the Hawks. They came into the offseason thinking, oh, we're just a few moves away from maybe competing for a chip. They were confused. They made some dumb veteran free agent moves. And what happened this year? They're one of the worst teams in basketball.
Well, how about this? I think the fact that Bill Belichick actually had them in the playoffs last year will tell you why he's one of the greatest coaches that ever lived, because that team was not very good. And I'll give you another one. I think they're actually a winner, though, because I think they've already got their starting quarterback, and it's not Mac Jones. I will make this prediction. I believe by the middle of next season, Bailey Zappi will be the starting quarterback.
Woo! Hold on.
And write it down, because
I'm
I
writing
will
it
say
down.
the same thing that I said about Mac Jones last year. The only place Mac Jones could go and be successful was New England. All right? Bailey Zappi, and the way he plays quarterback, fits what New England does. So you could write that down all day. Bailey Zappi will be the starter within 2 years.
I'm writing it down right now.
Because really, I think Mac Jones, I think that he was the best rookie quarterback last year, but overall, hell, Davis Mills might have been the second best, or whatever the hell his name is, from Houston. I don't think the quarterback class was that great. So I think Bailey Zappi actually sees things much better than Mac Jones. I think Mac Jones is a solid guy. He's going to be 12 years from now, if we're doing this show, me and Steve will be in a nursing home. But
True.
You know, Joe Spillman will be sitting there feeding us. And he's going to feed us just because he can pinch us and screw with us all the time, and we can't do anything back. And he's going to sit there and call us both dumbasses the entire time. But I think that Mac Jones 12 years from now still going to be playing in the NFL, probably as a backup. And I think Mac Jones did a great job for what he had last year. But let's face it, I don't think there's a real high ceiling for what Mac Jones does. And I'm not saying Bailey Zappi is going to be the next Tom Brady. I'm just saying Bailey Zappi, within 2 years, maybe by the end of this year, will be the starting quarterback in New England. All right, guys, real quick, because we got like 8 minutes left here. We're going to look at our best games. Steve, what's your best game on the schedule?
Yeah.
Here we go.
Hang on.
The number 1 best game. Woo!
Best game on the schedule. Come back to me.
Okay, I'll start off with this. I'll go number 1, week 1, Broncos at Seahawks. Because I don't think Russell Wilson was happy with Pete Carroll. I think he wanted out last year, and they didn't let him get out. I think he's kind of a buttoned-up personality. I think he's going to let loose in Seattle. And I think your Broncos, at least for that Week 1 game, Dan, are going to look like a Super Bowl team.
Yo, that man's got to throw 400 yards, 4 touchdowns, and they got to blow Seattle out. And just let Pete know, all right? Let everybody know what's going on. And remind people that it wasn't that long ago that this guy was a top 5 NFL quarterback. It wasn't that long ago. He needs to remind people.
All right, Dan, give me one of your number 1 games outside of that Bills-Lions game.
I'm ready now.
Do you want to go, Steve?
No, go ahead. No, it's
all right.
You call on you.
I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go a little early in the season. I wrote down like 8 different games that I'm really interested in. I'm gonna go with Kansas City at Tampa Bay because we get to see the GOAT versus a young GOAT. As much as I know Mike just will disagree with that statement, it's still fun to say. And we've got a hell of a quarterback matchup. We got 2 teams that should be Super Bowl contenders. As long as Tom Brady's healthy, the Bucs will be in the thick of things. And it's going to be an interesting year in Kansas City. No Tyreek Hill. We're going to see if Pat Mahomes is quite right, and we'll be able to spread it around more evenly amongst all the weapons they got. But that's going to be a fun one.
That was like a dumbass statement. That's so fucking stupid. I mean, come on. I mean, you got Tom Brady against Joe Burrow. That's the greatest quarterback that ever lived against the only guy that's playing right now that could surpass him someday. But I will also give you this one. Bengals at Patriots. The reason I say that is
I wrote that down too.
We have watched Bill Belichick, even with inferior teams, take apart guys like Justin Herbert, Lamar Jackson, all these young stud quarterbacks. When they go play him, they have issues. We're going to have Joe Burrow go to New England, Week 16, Christmas Eve at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and we're going to watch Joe Burrow wear that old man's ass out.
Woo!
And I find it very stupid for you to call the new GOAT Patrick Mahomes when you've already saw that Joe Burrow owns his ass repeatedly. I mean, Joe Burrow gave him a 21-3 lead in Kansas City in the second half and then whooped his ass. Go ahead, Dan. Or what's your name? Steve.
I'm going to go more toward late in the season. And one of my favorite games I'm looking forward to is because I think that late in the season, game's probably going to mean something. The Bills at the Bengals. I think both teams could wrap up their divisions. I see that, but we're talking playoff seeding, playoff ranking, home court, home field advantage. You've got Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, Stephon Diggs, Jamar Chase, Davis versus Higgins. I mean, you've got some explosive players out there. When I think for both these teams, it's probably not going to matter for their winning their division, but it's probably going to come down to what it matters for these teams in terms of seeding. Who wants to be the number 1 seed, get home field all the way through? Who wants to buy, whatever. It's going to come down to that, and I think that's going to be a good game, and it's going to be built up big time over the entire NFL season.
That was a good one. That's definitely a good one.
What game did he say?
Week 17. Bills versus Bengals.
Oh, yeah. No, that's a rematch of the 1975 Monday night game.
Yeah. Well, I think it's going to be a fun game. Two of the 3 best.
Wait a second. Don't just blow me off. Don't you guys know about the 1975 Monday night game?
Yeah. Why don't you tell our listeners about it, though? So
I know all about it, but, since you brought it up, you talk about it.
So you need to win. Okay, 1975. O.J. Simpson ran for like 200 yards in the rain, and Kenny Anderson threw for over 400 yards, and the Bengals beat the Bills 35-23. It was a great football game.
Is that the one where O.J. broke 2,000 yards?
No, that was 1973, week 14 against the New York Jets at Shea Stadium, where he went for the 2,003 yards for the season. Yeah. I will give you also Cowboys at Packers is always interesting. I think the Rams at Chargers, just to see if they can actually fill the place with the Rams and Chargers and no visiting teams fans coming in on Christmas or on New Year's Day.
Well, Mike, you brought up Cowboys Packers. You know what's kind of funny? It seems that the NFL and maybe I'm just akin to because I'm older like you are. They seem to be wanting to do these nostalgia games, like Cowboys at Packers.
What are some? They have to play each other. It's a computer that puts them together.
Yeah, I know, but still, they're hyping these like the old Frozen Tundra game, and then they've got the Raiders and the Steelers playing again on a primetime game.
And I'll watch it because I remembered 1975. Right, because we remember the
Immaculate Reception. Yeah, we all do.
I don't remember that. You're old enough to remember that. I don't remember the. I was like 3.
I remember it. I remember watching the game, and for a while we had to figure out what happened, whether he caught the ball or not. You know, there was
the Raiders.
The Raiders, and Tatum bounces off Tatum's shoulder pads, right in the hands of Franco. Franco goes in. They think it's a dead ball. I mean, the controversy immediately after that game was as big as the fact that, then there was cheating, the bad play call, the whole thing with that game. But there seem to be a few of these nostalgia games that have come up this year.
What a plan anyway, Steve. And those are the nostalgia games. Dallas, Green Bay, Pittsburgh, the Raiders. Those are the teams that had the biggest following.
It's the 50th anniversary of that game, Mike. So that makes it a nostalgia
Oh, well, they're definitely doing it. Real quick, Gunner's boss. The NFL is quartering the market. What will you choose on Christmas Day? Brady, Mahomes, and Rodgers, or LeBron, KD, and Kyrie? I am watching.
Watching football.
This is the thing.
Yeah. Not even close.
Without question.
I mean, the NBA should be disbanded anyways.
Right. I'm going to agree with you.
Did you see that the NBA is going to play 2 exhibition games in
China?
At the United Arab Emirates.
Oh,
and the thing about that is, but this is the thing. I mean, the way they treat women there, it really makes you wonder how this woke NBA does all these dealings for money with United Arab Emirates and the freaking China. But, everybody just ignores it. ESPN hasn't even reported about the preseason games because somebody told me about it the other day and I looked it up. Bleacher Report, all these places had stuff about the preseason games in China. Nothing on ESPN. And I think it's really sad when you want to be woke and act like diversity is your big thing and put all the social justice messages on your uniforms.
Yeah.
And then you turn it into that crap and you go take the money.
Exactly, Mike. Great point.
It's a joke. Bunch of dumbasses. What's the guy, the little skinny, sad-looking white guy that runs it now? Adam Silver?
Adam Silver.
Shit. We need David Stern back, or who was the white-haired dude? Yeah, he always looked
Larry O'Brien.
He looked like Harry Carey's brother.
Yeah,
Larry O'Brien. Where's the good guys? The other thing is this. I mean, if you watch the NBA playoffs, if you stare at somebody too hard, they're going to kick your ass out of the game.
Hey, Larry O'Brien monetized Bird versus Johnson.
Well, Bird and Johnson monetized that for everybody.
But he
Larry O'Brien was a dumbass too.
Larry O'Brien played that up, and basically between the 3 of them,
he didn't have to.
They resurrected the NBA.
He didn't have to.
And with that, we should say, on a sad note, we lost Bob Lanier.
I know, one of the great centers that didn't win a championship.
In the NBA of all time.
All right, Gunner agrees with us. Going to UAE is a disgrace. They're using sports to legitimize their human rights violations. They've done it with boxing, too. The boxing has done it, too. They had, the rematch between Andy Ruiz and Anthony Joshua there, when you could have put that in Wembley Stadium and had 100,000 people there. Instead, you get 12,000 rich people. Women weren't allowed there. So, I mean, a lot of times.
We're just picking one big game, or we're done with that?
We're done with that. You want to talk about something else? We can.
Yeah, I just want to get your guys' take on. Now we got 5 overseas games, 3 in London, 1 in Munich, and 1 in Mexico City. Is the NFL pissing on its own constituency here?
Yeah, they are. Because if you're a season ticket holder for a supposedly home game that's in London or Germany.
The Buccaneers are going. There's some big teams going.
Yeah, but those teams are not the ones giving up the home games.
They're giving up road games. Yeah, I see what you're saying. But
so they're sending them over to be able to get a crowd there. I mean, the other thing is this. The Bengals and Saints were going to play there until the NFL realized that means Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase are coming back to Louisiana, so we're going to go ahead and stay with that and have somebody else play the Saints in London.
Yeah.
So it's all about money. As a Bengals fan, the Bengals have played there a couple times over the last 5 years because they sucked. They stick teams
played
that
there,
suck
too.
there. They put them at 9:30 in the morning, so people like Risley have to get up at 6:30 to watch the game. And
And I
Risley's
did,
not getting
and
up
I
at
did.
6:30 to watch the Lions play the
Do
Jaguars.
you think I'm going to get up at 6:30 to watch the NBA play an exhibition game in Dubai?
Dude, I wouldn't get up to watch the NBA play if they were playing in my living room. I wouldn't. And I got hardwood floors now and a 15-foot ceiling. They could do it.
You see, Dan, you see how much money Mike's making off of betting.net now? He's got enough money he can afford an NBA-sized court in his living room.
Not an NBA-sized court. I just said it was the ceiling was high enough and I had the hardwood floors. Hold on. We got Gunner again. Gunner's one of my favorites. Remember when the West... Wait a second. He's asking a cricket question. We've never had one of these. Remember when the West Indies cricketers, is that what they're called, did a rebel tour to South Africa paid for by Kerry Packer? They still haven't forgiven in the Caribbean for it. Yes, I do remember that. That was horrible, Gunner.
Yeah, nobody should have been doing anything with South Africa at that point.
Actually, nobody should be doing anything with South Africa now.
Now. But but it's,
South Africa's a mess no matter which side's in charge. But
anyway, these overseas games, Dan, what's your opinion of the overseas games? I mean, just too much?
Not a fan.
I'm not a fan of it at all.
I mean, it's a cute idea to expand the sport and whatever. And so, and
how about this, Dan? Why not expand it?
They do have their own football leagues. Germany.
But why not expand it, Dan, and just do what they did in the late 80s and early 90s, where they would play 1 or 2 preseason games there, call it the All-American Bowl. They would get their game. No harm's done. Right now, it could affect who wins the Super Bowl even.
Yeah.
Because it can affect who makes the playoffs. Because, I mean, you've got to make a flight, and then you got to come back and play. I mean,
jet lag. You got all kinds of time.
How about this? The worst part about all of this is just like the Thursday games, is the fact that it puts the players' health in jeopardy, and they don't give a shit. Because they've got billions of dollars wrapped up in this, and they don't care about the players. I remember there was a former Minnesota Viking, it might have been Alan Page, that I noticed on Facebook the other day, shared something. He set up a GoFundMe for a former teammate of his because he has CTE and he's dying, and he can't get the money from the NFL and their insurance. It's an absolute joke. So really, we rip the NBA for what they're doing. I could rip the NFL for what they're doing. We could rip Major League Baseball for what they're doing. I don't know what the hell hockey's doing.
I'm telling you right now, I think it's only a matter of time the NBA goes and does a tour, and teams go over and play a 2-week schedule.
It wouldn't surprise me if they put an entire division in China.
What, Joe? What, Dan?
That'd be gross.
Well, that's what I tell you what. They're going to send 4 teams over and play a 4-team. It'll just be regular season games. I can see it happening right now within a period of time, and they'll do a swing through China and play. You got 3 games or 6 games. You'll play over there in the span of 2 weeks, and you'll play in China. Mark my words. Don't be surprised if it doesn't happen. And NFL,
look, Dan just put his son on TV for the first time.
I think what the NFL ought to do now is just put a damn franchise in London. We played so many games over there.
No, they shouldn't.
No, I'm being facetious.
Is that anything like sarcastic? Because that's usually what I am.
Yeah, well, it's kind of the same thing. Now get Joe to whatever his last name is. What is his last name? Skillman?
Don't be disrespectful, Steve.
I can't think of his last name right now. Who's the damn commissioner of the NFL? Not Pete Rozelle.
Oh, Goodell?
It's not Joe.
Goodell.
It's Roger Goodell. You get Joe on your mind.
I know.
Hold on. We got another comment from Gunner before we wrap it up. I understand it's all a business deal where the teams that travel to Europe wouldn't make enough money from the gate, so going overseas will make more. If you notice the top teams, but the thing about it is this: the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are going, but they are the away team. But this is the thing: it does not matter how many people show up to a game. These owners are already making millions each every year because of the TV contract. If nobody ever showed up to an NFL game, they would still make more money than anybody should possibly ever make.
They had who was the Colts drafted somebody from Germany, like wasted another first-round pick, I think, or
I don't think they
2 or 3
wasted a
years
first
ago.
round. You sure it wasn't like an Australian player?
No, it was a German guy. It was a German guy. because on the NFL,
I remember the Bengals
schedule,
got Marcus Hunt, and then he went to the Colts.
I can't think of the guy's name, but he's Dieter or Dexter or something like that. I don't know, but anyway, they had him. They had the stadium in Munich all lit up, and the town did not know that the NFL game was coming. And they said this town is going apeshit bananas over the fact that they're getting an NFL game in Munich. So they'll sell it out. I mean,
yeah,
Wembley Stadium, Wembley Stadium sells out for every game. It's a social event.
I'm sure it's cool for the people who live in those countries, but
yeah,
I'm not a fan.
Oh, you know what I am a fan of, though? I'm a fan of betting.net. It's not just sports betting. Betting.net compares the best online casinos. Sit back, relax, and play the top online slots, poker, and table games. Check out betting.net.
Mike, I'm a fan of betting.net, too. You know what? Since they started paying you, you have been a much more pleasant person to be around. Just much happier.
You're such an asshole. I'm sorry. You're a dumbass.
I got it before you did. You owe me money.
You got
we had
what?
a bet. Dan and I had a bet going on who was going to call a dumbass first.
Actually, I called you a dumbass at the start of the show, Steve.
That was a joint. You called us both dumbasses.
No, I just called you a dumbass. Dan's not a dumbass. He just.
I think you called me a dumbass before we even started the show. So.
I don't know. Quit picking your nose. All right.
No, I'm scratching I just shaved.
Did you just start? You finally grow hair on your face?
Yeah, I finally did. I can't grow a beard. I can't be like Danny.
Yeah, Danny. Do people call you Dan or Danny, Dan?
My family members.
You didn't get that, did you? It's Dan because I said, do people call you Dan or Danny, Dan?
I missed that last part.
All right. Have you watched any movies me and Risley told you to watch yet?
Nope.
Why not?
It just hasn't.
You can't even be an American if you've never seen Blazing Saddles.
I feel like I watched like the first 5 minutes of it, and things escalated verbally very quickly. I feel.
So you don't like bad words?
No, it's just I don't know. I feel like I was watching it in the first 5 minutes. Like it went 0 to 100 real quick.
Oh,
yeah, it's like an Andrew Dice Clay stand-up concert.
Hey, Dan, trust me, it gets worse.
Yeah, it does.
It gets a lot worse.
Way worse. And they say that on the show, too.
The fact that I saw that movie in high school, I can't believe I was allowed to go see it.
The movie would not be made now.
Yeah, the movie would not be made today. No, I can't even believe Netflix still shows it.
Oh, come on. They probably, All in the Family, All in the Family, Sanford and Son, none of those shows would be allowed today.
Well, I don't see All in the Family on TV anywhere.
They probably would. Oh, yeah, it's always on. You can find All in the Family almost all the time. Okay. And it's not as good as Andy Griffith.
All right.
Andy Griffith's the best show, though. It never gets old. Have you ever watched Andy Griffith, Dan? How could you not? Never mind. Dumbass.
Greatest scene in the Andy Griffith show is when they were trying to get Alan Hale Jr. set up. Anybody know who Alan Hale Jr. was?
I'm sure Dan knows who Alan Hale Jr. was. Tell us, Dan.
He's an actor.
Yeah, and what was his most prominent role that he played?
I don't know.
Wasn't he Robin Hood?
No.
Yes, he was.
Captain Jones?
No, Robin Hood
Jonas?
was his most famous.
Yeah, Grumpy Jonas, better known as Skipper on Gilligan's Island.
Yeah, but still, Robin Hood was a bigger deal.
That was Alan Hale Jr. Hey,
but
Dan,
Robin
you know
Hood
who his dad was? You know who his dad was?
Stormy Hale.
Alan Hale Sr.?
There you go. You're no dumbass.
Yes, he is. He's a dumbass.
Anyway,
they've already settled that.
They're at a cotillion in Mayberry, and they're trying to get Alan Hale Jr. a wife because he's a country bumpkin, comes down from the hills and needs to marry. So they'll get out of Andy and Barney's hair and go back up to the mountains. So he's come courting a wife. So they have a big cotillion at Andy's house, and they walk in, and all these women from Mayberry are sitting there. And Barney looks at Andy and says, "Gee, Merry Christmas! If a bird flew through this room right now, they'd all stand up and point."
I guess it's because she was attractive.
They're all pointers. Pointers, dogs.
Nice. Oh, okay. Nice.
Dan doesn't get things right away sometimes.
It takes a little while.
Joseph says you look like the skipper.
It's fine. I'll take that.
That's fine because I think Dan looks like Killigan.
Yeah,
I'm
not even going to say what Dan looks like. So Joe looks like.
I would be Marianne probably because I'm the attractive one.
I'm not even gonna go there with Joe. What he looks like, I'll take the skipper. I'm fat. I'm overweight. I'm trying to lose weight, and
we need to get you one of those hats, little skipper hat.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's right. I used to have one.
So if you're the skipper, that would make Joe Gilligan.
No.
Yeah, it would. Because Gilligan was a dipshit.
No. Gilligan was a lot smarter.
Oh man.
Didn't Dan or Joe or both?
No, not like Dan. I don't have a problem. I mean, no beef with Dan. I respect the fact that he will not get through Blazing Saddles because it is a woke movie right now.
It's not a woke movie. It's the opposite.
Yeah,
it's the opposite. Okay,
the anti
woke. I don't even know what woke means. I just use it.
That means I got up and I'm happy for another day on Earth.
I'm not sleeping.
So the fact that Dan's rejecting that movie shows me he has.
I don't think that's why he rejected that movie. I just think anything longer than about 10 minutes, and Dan has a hard time keeping focused.
I made the mistake. I made the mistake of starting to watch it.
Tell Joe I saw Top Gun. I know what the middle finger is, Joe. It's
he started to watch it at work.
It's
Will you quit flipping
Joe.
Me off?
I'm not. I'm flipping.
Yes,
Joe
you
off
are, because I'm looking at the screen and you got your middle finger up at me.
For the third time, Joe has sent me now he had to explain to me it's the middle finger. So, and I saw Top Gun. What were you doing 3 meters away from the cosmonaut in his Meg?
And what's up with making a new Top Gun movie?
They are. Coming out next week.
I know they don't make any good movies anymore. The only thing they can do is make. Only thing they can do is remake everything.
I heard that that Tom Cruise wanted to change the title of the movie from Top Gun to Top Gun: Story of Joe Burrows.
Ooh, that would have been much better.
Why would he do that?
Because we all think Joe Burrow's a top gun in the NFL right now.
You're a dumbass. All right, remember, betting.net finds the best promotions, offers a bonus code so you don't have to. So if you're Steve Risley and you really don't know what you're doing on betting, they go there. They'll explain it to you so you'll understand. Head over to the website now to take advantage of things like free bets and matching deposits. Let's see.
Or you can go to thegruelingtruth.com and listen to an 18-minute dissertation about what a trifecta is by Mike Goodpaster.
It was actually 3 minutes at most, but all right.
Felt like 18 minutes.
And Gutter says, and most of the remakes are garbage. I agree. Have we ever seen a remake that was better than the original or as good?
The Godfather Part 2 was better than Part 1.
Yeah, but Part 3, from what I heard, second
was
worst.
atrocious.
I'll give you one. How about this? Heaven Can Wait.
That movie was made like 4 times.
It was a remake. No, it was only the second time. It was a remake of Here Comes Mr. Jordan.
But it was also remade as Heaven. Well, yeah, it was Mr. Jordan. Here Comes Mr. Jordan. But that movie was made in the 30s, the 50s, and in the 70s with Warren Beatty.
Well, that's not 4 times, Steve.
There's another time it was made, too.
But Here Comes Mr. Jordan was a movie about a boxer, and Heaven Can Wait. They just turned it into a football player.
The fourth Here Comes Mr. Jordan was done by the porn site.
But they spelled it C-U-M, not C-O-M-E-S, so it's not the same thing.
Yeah.
Jeez. It's just true. It's just true.
Hey, I will tell you, though, if you like The Godfather, Friday nights now on...
hey, what is Need for Speed 74?
He's making a joke.
Car chase movie. It's a stupid car chase movie.
It's just they won't stop making them.
I know. It's I think Need for Speed.
Do you think that he meant Fast and Furious 74?
No. Need for Speed.
Yeah, that's what he meant.
Old.
He meant Fast
and Furious was kind of a remake of Need for Speed, but Need for Speed was a throwback back to the original.
I don't find any movie called Need for Speed.
He meant
it's a video game. So
I think there was a movie called Need for Speed, or maybe it was called.
Wait, I was right. It's a video game.
Well, yeah, it's a video game, but I think he meant.
Well, you think that maybe Joe's too stupid to realize we're talking about movies, Dan?
Yeah,
based on what Steve's saying.
Video games are for children. I've never played a video game.
Yes, you have. You told me you had an Atari when you were younger, Steve.
Well, Atari's not a video game.
Oh, God, it was a video game, Steve.
That was Pong. It was just Pong.
Oh,
I was
yeah,
mindless
Joe-
sitting there with
Joe's
one
a
dial
dumbass.
moving up and down the.
Joe's a dumbass. He meant Fast and Furious. Need for
Okay.
Speed is a video game, though, because I think my kids had it.
Hey, the Karras kid that the Bengals drafted.
Not
Like-
that I know of.
Karras, the center that they signed from.
Yeah.
Well, I think that the question Steve's trying to ask is he related to Alex?
Alex,
Karras?
is he? Not that you know of. Okay.
I don't think so.
Because Dan doesn't even know who Alex Karras is.
I feel like we've talked about this before.
I know.
Yeah,
You
because
probably
he's
forgot
one
it
of the
again.
he's probably one of the three greatest Detroit
Football
Lions of all
players.
time.
All
Him,
time,
Bobby
right.
Lane, and Barry Sanders. And you've
And-
never heard of Bobby Lane, and you hadn't heard of two of the three top Lions of all time, Dan.
No, I know who Bobby Lane was. I
And
just
Alex Karras had a pretty successful movie career after that.
Have you ever heard of Lem Barney?
Barney
What?
the dinosaur.
Lem Barney.
Oh,
Yeah, Lem Barney, defensive back for.
Come
was that
on. You've never heard of Lem Barney.
You never heard of Lem Barney? Oh my!
He's in the Pro
God.
Football Hall of Fame. He played for the Detroit Lions for like
I-
12 years.
Number 20. Wasn't that his number? Number 20.
Yeah. I got to interview him like 6 years ago. He's a really cool guy.
Lem Barney is a stalwart stud for the Lions.
I know. Lem Barney's a beast. When you look it up, I
Wow.
want you to punch yourself in the face, Dan.
For
on
not knowing
camera.
him.
What's the name?
Lem,
Lem
Barney.
Barney.
How do you spell limb?
Lem.
L-E-M.
L-E-M.
You know dumbass Dan was spelling it I-L-M-B. Barney, B-A-R-N-Y.
Are our numbers still going up, or we lost everybody?
No, we still got people. According to where you look, on Facebook it dropped off a little bit, but on the other ones it's actually went up.
Oh wow!
It's
Well, I
Friday
can do movie
night.
reviews.
Huh?
I can do movie reviews.
We could do movie reviews, but Dan can't because he hadn't watched
Anyway,
it.
there's a TV show out called The Offer, which is a documented story about how the movie The Godfather got made. Do you realize that movie?
But I haven't
series-
seen the movie. It does me no good to watch The
I
Offer.
know you know good, right? But that movie, that series of movies, which is often considered one of the greatest trilogies in movie business of all time, almost never got written. The book, Puzo wrote the book out of desperation because he needed money. That's the only reason he wrote. He did not like writing gangster movies, and didn't want to write mob movies or books or anything like that. Write mob books. And then he got in a big heat with the mafia itself because they didn't want what he was writing out in the public, and they came after him. And this book damn near didn't get published, which means that the movie script would have damn near never got written, and Paramount would have never bought the rights to it.
Well,
So it's a fascinating tale. It's on Paramount Plus, and you should really follow it.
how about
and
this,
watch
Steve?
it.
Steve is the movie guy. So we're going to do this. Out of all the movie franchises of all time, which one has made the most money?
Well, my son knows this. We had this debate. It's not Star Wars, believe it or not.
No.
I thought it would be Star Wars hands down, but it's not. Man, my son and I just had this discussion, and it.
Dan, you can take a shot at it if you want.
Are we talking just like trilogies or franchise?
Well, no, franchise movies. So, like, you got all
I
the
mean, it might
Marvels,
be
you get the
Fast
Star
and
Wars,
Furious.
the Rockies, Fast and
It
Furious.
might be.
Fast and Furious is like number 6. Number 1 is the Marvel Cinematic
Marvel,
Universe.
Yeah, well,
$22.5 million. And see, the bad thing
billion.
is it sucks.
It'd be billion, not million.
I said billion. And
You
number
said
2 is
billion.
Star Wars at $10.2 billion, and it sucked. The Wizarding World of Harry Potter, $9.18 billion. That sucked.
Yeah.
James Bond, $6.89 million. That sucked. Spider-Man, $6 billion. That sucked. X-Men, $6 billion. That sucked. I don't like any of these.
The Marvel universe is really a conglomeration of
yeah, it's like 30
12 different movies.
Well,
I mean,
you know
can't
what
really-
this is, though. This is all recent stuff because
Yeah.
you got
Well,
streaming
because
and
it-
everything.
In
'Cause,
1970,
I mean,
you pay $1.50 or $2.
Because
be a man-named
the
movie.
two greatest movie franchises ever, I think, were Rocky and The Godfather. I didn't watch Godfather, but just because I've heard so many people talk about it,
Yeah.
I think it's Rocky and The Godfather. And our
And
numbers
that's
have
fair.
doubled.
Rocky deserves every reason to be up there because that sustainability, For a guy like Sly Stallone to come up with that many plots.
Well, and he
that
turned it
many
into
movies.
Creed, which is going on his
Yeah.
third movie. So really, there's going to be
Right.
9 or 10 Rockies.
Right. And there's
Hold
going
on.
to be Butkus. There's going to be Butkus.
Okay, actually, we had Gunner was guessing while I was looking it up. Need for Speed versus The Fast and Furious,
No,
which is the
what-
better car movie.
Everybody thinks Star Wars, but it's not.
Put Need for Speed the original. It's Star Wars is number 2 though. Actually, what?
Here's a bit of trivia for you about the Rocky movie. In the original plot for Rocky, they had Stallone carrying Butkus up the steps to the Philadelphia Library.
Well, did you also know
But
this?
they nixed it because they were afraid he would fall or drop the dog or somebody would get hurt. It was just he dog weighed too much. It was like a 130-pound dog.
Also, did you know that Apollo Creed, they originally wanted to cast Joe Frazier as Apollo Creed? It wouldn't have worked. No, because Joe Frazier was a complete opposite.
Carl
because
Weathers
they're
was
Gordy
much
on it.
better.
And Carl Weathers played in the CFL
Ross
and
was-
for the Oakland Raiders.
And Ross has worked with Carl Weathers on a couple different movie projects.
Well,
Said he's the nicest guy in the world. Said he's just the classiest guy in the world.
and why didn't you get his phone number so we could interview him?
I don't know that he doesn't. He won't give me any of that crap. Trust me. He makes me sign an NDA when he comes home, or he won't talk to me.
He's been doing that since he was in kindergarten, though, Steve. So it's not because of the movies.
No, it's because of the movies. Because he works. He spends a lot of time working for Disney.
Hey, and do you know who the movie studio, United Artists, I'm trying to remember this, because me and John Responi did an entire show about the Rocky
Artists did
series.
Rocky. Yeah, United Artists did
But
them.
I know, United, you know who United Artists, the studio, wanted to play Rocky, because they didn't want Rocky to play himself.
No.
They actually were looking at James Caan, Burt Reynolds, and Ryan O'Neal.
They didn't want Sylvester Stallone to play Rocky.
No,
Rocky
because
wasn't
nobody
playing-
knew who he was.
Right.
And
Well, actually, he's been in Lords of Flatbush. He's
yeah, but
been in
nobody
other
knew
movies.
who he was.
Right,
Not
right.
for that. But
He
do
was
you
a
know?
bit part actor.
Do you know who was supposed to be the original Adrian?
No, I do not know that.
The top 2 people considered, top 3 considered, were Susan Sarandon, who the producers and Stallone decided was too sexy.
Wouldn't have worked.
Cher was also considered.
Wouldn't have worked.
Bette Midler was offered the role and turned it
Would
in.
not
Yeah.
have worked.
It had to be people
Talia
that were
Shire.
actually underdogs to sell it, if
Yeah,
you know what I
Talia
mean.
Shire was great.
Yeah, she was. She was a hell of an
She had
actress.
just come off of The Godfather.
Yeah.
She was in the Godfather trilogy.
Hmm.
And played a victim in that movie too. She was kind of the sister, and was a victim in that. But Mike, one of these days you should watch The Godfather. I'll see how you.
I will. I don't
know
like to
when you
watch-
have time. I know. You
See,
don't
I always tell my wife we ought to watch this, but it's like 3 or 3.5 hours.
Yeah, it
and
is.
then I found myself 2 weeks ago watching Ozarks for 5 straight hours. So
I'm
Yeah.
sorry,
what the
I mean,
hell are you
I'm
gonna do?
still trying to get Dan to watch Draft Day.
I
hey,
love
how,
Draft Day.
hey, how about this? Tell me this. All right, Rocky IV was supposed to be in the Soviet Union.
Yeah.
Where was it actually filmed?
Was it Montana or somewhere up in there? I don't
It
think
was
Colorado.
Wyoming and Canada.
Wyoming, Canada. Yeah. It was. Yeah. They
Yeah.
couldn't go. They didn't get permission. Russia wouldn't give permission to come over.
Yeah, and did you know that Dolph Lundgren almost killed Sylvester Stallone in a fight scene?
Hit him. You know, actually
He hit him in his
and
breastbone, and it began
Yeah.
to swell. And actually, Stallone was in the ER for like a week or more.
He would have been in intensive care, not the ER.
No, he was in
wouldn't keep him in the
ER
ER.
and then intensive care.
Intensive
I
care.
believe.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
but you got to go to the ER. For
That's my 25 years of working for Pfizer to know where they send sick people.
Yeah. Ah. Hey, did you know that the turtles in the 2006 Rocky Balboa movie are the exact same turtles that were in the
Cuff and Link.
1976 movie?
Cuff and Link. Yep.
Because they
Look at
actually
that.
outlived a few of the characters.
Yeah.
All right, there's all kind of information you guys get when you watch this show on a Friday night, and we're bored as hell. But, all right, Dan, anything before we wrap it up?
No, this was a good show.
Great show. Good back with you guys. I tell you, this panel is a really stellar panel. Thank you for letting me be a part of it.
Well,
You're great, Steve.
Unlike the other show I participate in, the show would not succeed if I wasn't on that panel.
Let them know. Steve and company.
You know, yeah.
All right,
Steve
guys, so-
Stephen Company or Stephen the panel now.
All right, so Sunday night, the NASCAR show. Make sure you check it out with Ryan, Joe, and Steve.
And the panel. One of the panels just flipped me off again.
That would be the panel. So if you guys want to see some real life tension, make sure you watch the NASCAR post-race show on Sunday night. Make sure you go check out, in the link in the description, our top sportsbook recommended for this show, which is Caesars Sportsbook. Check out betting.net, which is your top sportsbook comparison site. Betting.net offers extensive reviews on the best sportsbooks out there. Make sure you check them out. All right, guys, we're going to wrap it up. Hold on, we have another... Oh, just Steve and Ryan. Are you guys really going to be this girly?
I'm not.
Okay, see? Steve's willing to be there, Joe. So, you have your ass there, too. All right, guys, we're going to wrap it up, and make sure you check out Joe's article and his show on betting on the NASCAR race this weekend. Where's the NASCAR race at, Joe?
Where's it at, Joe? Where are they racing this week?
Oh, I forgot. Steve's on the NASCAR. Steve, where are they at this week?
I don't know. Joe's got to answer that one.
I didn't open the damn thing.
But
Joe's not on the show.
Joe's the host.
But I ain't going to wait here till Joe types something in.
Oh, he's not going to type anything in now.
Well, maybe he got mad and drew his computer.
Is that Jefferson City or Kansas City?
Kansas is good enough.
Okay.
All right, guys, we're going to wrap it up. Make sure
I believe Kansas City's in Missouri, isn't it?
There's a Kansas City, Missouri, and there's a Kansas City, Kansas.
I don't know which if it's in Missouri or Kansas. That's a great question.
I say Kansas because Joe just said it was.
Okay, well, then he knows more than I do, so he should be the host.
And I'm pretty sure when you wrote, I thought he was the host.
Hey, we got to talk about before it's in Kansas City, Kansas. Thank you, Joe.
Okay.
We got to talk about California's getting ready to pass legislation out here that's going to allow online gaming for sports book. They have got it on the November
We're
ballot.
going to have to teach Steve how to use a sports book, Dan. We're going to have to do a show where me and Dan get on here and walk you through step by step how to bet on some games.
You know what I think I'll do? I think I'm just going to go to betting.net and let those guys teach me.
You know what? I'm really impressed.
Just a little bit more than you.
We've went an hour and a half, and you've said betting.net correctly like six times,
I have
Steve.
Worked on that hard. I respect our sponsors and the people that pay the bills. I respect that immensely. And
do you think Steve walks around while he's walking his dogs and in his head just keeps saying betting.net, 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 betting.net? All right. Guys, we're going to wrap it up. We'll have a bunch of shows next week. Me and Steve may bring back a little Indiana basketball show to look at the upcoming season. And a little Survive in Advance Monday to talk about the NIL. That sound good?
It's on Monday. Monday's kind of an off day for me. I got to rest up from all the national.
All right, guys, we're going to wrap it up. We'll do Survive in Advance.
And I believe Joe and I, are the next 2 weeks, are going to have an Indy 500 show just for 2 weeks to cover the Indy 500.
That's Joe now trying to tell you to kiss his ass.
That probably is Joe. Call him. He's saying he's going to flip me off again and say, I'm not doing crap with you ever again anymore.
All right, girls, we're going to go ahead. We're going to wrap the show up. But make sure you check us out at Grueling Truth on Twitter. And also go to Facebook, like us, and subscribe to us on YouTube. Make a little comment about how awesome Steve and Dan are. We're going to wrap it up.
At least like Dan and Mike. For you guys can punk on me all you want. I got 4 years with Bob Knight, 50 years in total with him. So you're not going to say anything that's going to hurt my feelings. But Dan and Mike need your love, so give them some love.
I don't need any love.
Thanks, guys.
I don't need any
tell
love.
Wendy
give
that.
It to Dan. Dan's
I'll tell
soft.
Wendy you don't need any love.
Dan's soft. That's not love. That's just pure animal lust on her part. I can't control that. All right, guys, we're going to wrap it up. We're going to wrap. Our numbers are going up again, so that's why I want to kind of string it out a little bit. But we're going to let it go. For Dan Kornhauser, Steve Risley, I'm Mike Goodpaster. You've been listening and watching to The Grueling Truth.
Go
Let the legends speak.